Welcome back to BTN Live. While we continue to celebrate the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, I had a chance to catch up with my partner in crime and BTN analyst Jim Jackson and ask him what Dr. King's legacy meant to him.
Steve, when I hear the name Dr. Martin Luther King, a couple of things come to mind: revolutionary, visionary, humanitarian, father figure. Just the impact that he had not only on my life, our lives, but what our kids now are going through today. What have been some of your experiences as well with that?
I like to share a story. My father was a student athlete at Southern Illinois University, played basketball. And this was back in 1959. They flew to Hartsfield Airport in Atlanta, and he went to drink at a fountain, and he didn't look up. And when he drank out of the fountain, he got kicked in his rear end by a woman. And he didn't understand what happened. And he looked at one of his teammates and said, "Well, did you see that?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "But you didn't look up." And so there was a white fountain and a colored fountain. And him being 18 years old, he didn't understand that. So for us, fast forward, your son at Wisconsin, my son is a senior at Illinois, they know nothing about that.
Yeah.
They don't see color. And that's a beautiful thing. So that's what I think about when I think about Dr. Martin Luther King.
And how important that is that our kids now live in a world that Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement, they all thought about. Didn't matter your religion, your race, whatever it was, that everybody had the same freedoms. And if you think about why this country or how this country was founded, it was that every man was created equal. And yet and still during his time, he got kind of ostracized or criticized for wanting to live that kind of dream. But we've been blessed and we've been privileged to live a life of inclusion. Now, it's been tough at times, and we all have those stories, and I have stories when I was growing up in regards to racism. But think about what he went through in the civil rights movements of that time. You're talking about life or death.
No doubt about it.
Still, they did something about it, and they stood their ground.
They did stand their ground. And to think that you and I are coming through, when we were coming through 20 some odd years ago, I'm not going to date us too much, but when we were coming through, there wasn't any limit on what we thought we could do. But our parents, on the other hand, when they were coming through, there were some considerations that they had to look at and say, well, we may not be able to go this route because we haven't had someone go that route. And I'll tell you this, the first thing that I thought about Dr. Martin Luther King was when Barack became president, because I always heard, you won't see it in your lifetime. Did you hear that? So that's what I thought about the first thing when Barack became president, and knowing him personally from Southside Chicago, that just reminded me of Dr. Martin Luther King. Like, wow, I was always told I'd never see this in my lifetime.
And I think the important part, too, as we kind of wrap this up a little bit, is that if you look at Dr. Martin Luther King, you can't just put him in a box. That he was doing it for a black cause or African-American cause. This was about an American cause.
No doubt about it.
That we all belong and live together. Now, I don't think you can kind of put him in a box, and I think it's important that we understand the vision of why he wanted that, because in America, the melting pot of the world, everybody's freedoms are important. Race, religion, creed, whatever, gender, it doesn't matter. And that's the message that he was preaching. It was not just towards African-Americans, but it was towards every human being to have the opportunity to be the best that they can be.